Hey guys, welcome back to Mindtales. And if this is your first time here, welcome to a quiet little corner of the internet where stories are not meant to be remembered, but to drift into. Tonight's story is called The Man Who Tried to Stop Thinking. It's a story about what happens when the mind won't stop turning, and how, sometimes, peace isn't found by silencing thoughts, but by letting them speak until they get tired. If you enjoy stories like this, feel free to like the video, subscribe, or leave a comment about how your own thoughts behave at night. But only if you really want to, of course. Now, dim the lights, put your phone aside, and make yourself comfortable. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let your breathing slow down. And let's begin. You lie there, just like he once did. The room is quiet, the kind of quiet that hums softly, like the sound of distance itself. The refrigerator hums somewhere far away. A car passes slowly outside. Even the city seems to whisper, "It's okay. You can rest now." You tell yourself, "Don't think." And the moment you do, 100 thoughts arrive at the door, curious and chatty, like guests who didn't get the memo that the party was cancelled. You try again. You breathe in through your nose, slowly out through your mouth. The air tastes faintly metallic. The night air always does. Your pillow smells like laundry and thyme. And yet, your mind is still awake. You start wondering why. Why can't you stop the stream of little voices, the memory replays, the half-conversations, the imaginary rehearsals? It's like having 100 tabs open in your brain, each one playing a slightly embarrassing video from your life. You remember reading once that the mind is like a puppy. It doesn't stop running around just because you told it to. You have to let it tire itself out. So you do. You let it run. You watch it chase every stray thought, every what if, every maybe I should. And somewhere between the chases, you begin to feel something soft. Not silence exactly, but space. You open your eyes again. The ceiling looks back at you like an old friend, steady, unbothered, reliable. You think maybe it's not about stopping. Maybe it's about allowing, like watching clouds drift past without judging their shapes. The man in this story, the one you are tonight, decided to stop fighting his own weather. He decided to watch the sky instead. Outside, a faint wind moves the curtain. You can almost feel it brushing against your skin, like a whisper that doesn't need to say anything. You imagine the night as a living thing, stretching its long arms through the streets, tucking the world into bed. The moon above you is a quiet observer, her face silver and patient, as if she's seen this scene 1,000 times before. Humans trying not to think. You get up. The floor creaks beneath your feet, a wooden sigh that sounds almost human. You walk toward the window. The city outside glows faintly. Amber streetlights, a single car's headlights, and the distant hum of life, continuing without you. You place your palm against the cold glass. Your breath fogs it up. And for a second, you see your own reflection blur into mist. You think, maybe thoughts are just that. Warm air meeting the cold night. You watch that mist disappear, and it feels like the first small victory. You didn't stop it. You just watched it fade away on its own. That's when something clicks. You realize that not thinking isn't about control. It's about patience. You crawl back into bed. The sheets welcome you like a sigh. The fabric is cool against your legs, and the air feels denser now, as if the room itself has thickened to cradle you. You pull the blanket to your chin and close your eyes. You hear a bird outside. Too early or too late, you can't tell. It doesn't matter. Maybe he's thinking too much, you whisper to yourself, and you both share a tiny, tired laugh. You think about how strange it is that you can't force peace. You can only invite it, like a cat that appears when you pretend not to care. You turn your attention away from the noise inside your head, and in the corner of your awareness, something soft begins to settle. It's not silence, it's acceptance. The man who tried to stop thinking wasn't really trying to win a battle. He was trying to listen to the silence underneath, the space between thoughts, the pauses between words. You start to notice those pauses now, the tiny gaps where nothing happens, but everything feels okay. Your mind drifts backward. A childhood summer, a field of tall grass. You lying there, watching clouds shape-shift into stories. You didn't need to stop thinking back then. You just were. Maybe the art of rest is remembering that you already knew how. You take another deep breath. The air moves through you slowly, like water through a long glass tube. You picture your thoughts as little bubbles in that water, rising, bursting, gone. The body keeps breathing, the world keeps turning, and you realize you're safe. The man in the story begins to understand. His thoughts were never enemies. They were just messengers, each one arriving to tell him something he already knew, and then leaving once he listened. So he decides to let them come. He listens gently, and soon the messengers run out of things to say. The moonlight slides across the floor. It looks like a slow-moving river of light. You imagine floating on it, face up, eyes half closed. The world becomes liquid, and your body drifts with it. You think, maybe this is what peace feels like. Outside, the wind shifts. You hear the faint tapping of a branch against glass. Steady, rhythmic, like someone knocking politely on the door of your mind. You let it knock. You don't answer. You simply let the sound blend into the night. Somewhere, a train passes in the distance. Its rumble feels ancient and comforting, a reminder that motion exists, even when you're still. You wonder what people did before the internet, before noise on demand, how they handled silence without feeling the need to fill it. Maybe they just sat with it, the way you're sitting with it now. You picture someone 100 years ago, lying awake in candlelight, thinking the same thoughts you're thinking, and you feel strangely less alone. The man who tried to stop thinking begins to smile, not because he succeeded, but because he realized he didn't have to. He learned that the mind isn't an enemy to silence. It's a companion that occasionally forgets how to whisper. Your breathing has slowed now. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips. It's steady, gentle, grounding. You realize that even this very act of listening is a kind of meditation, a way of saying, I am here. And for tonight, that's enough. You start to drift. Thoughts blend into images, images blur into feelings. You see a small boat on a lake, tied loosely to a wooden dock. The water laps against its sides, softly, endlessly. You are both the boat and the water. You move, but you don't go anywhere. The night grows quieter. Your mind has softened its edges. Even your worries seem half asleep, like pets curled up beside you. You smile again, the slow kind that happens without reason. You whisper to yourself, "It's okay to think." And that permission, somehow, becomes the silence you were looking for. It's like opening your hands and watching the birds you were holding fly away, only to realize they were never yours to keep. Your eyelids feel heavy now. Every breath feels like a soft tide, pulling you deeper into the quiet sea beneath your ribs. You no longer try to stop the mind. You let it become the background noise of the universe. A hum, a whisper, a lullaby. The man who tried to stop thinking finally found peace in not succeeding. He realized that peace isn't silence, it's gentleness. And so, he let every thought pass like a leaf floating down a river. Some big, some small, all of them beautiful, none of them permanent. You can feel sleep circling now, a slow orbit around your mind. It doesn't rush, it waits. Because real rest can't be forced, it must be invited. And you are opening the door. You hear your own heartbeat again. It sounds ancient, older than worry, older than thought. It's been there since before you had words, and it will be there long after tonight. You smile into the darkness. You whisper, "Thank you." The room feels softer now, the air warmer. The edges of your thoughts begin to fade into something dreamlike. You don't need to know what happens next. You don't need to stop anything. Just breathe. Just be. And somewhere between one breath and the next, you realize you've stopped trying. Not because you gave up, but because you finally arrived. The man who tried to stop thinking learned the quietest truth of all, that peace isn't found in the absence of thought, but in the kindness of allowing them to rest. You wake again. Or maybe you never really fell asleep. The night hasn't changed, but you have. Something in you feels lighter now, as if every thought you released left behind a small pocket of air. You stretch. Your joints make tiny clicking sounds, like the old wooden floors of a house remembering footsteps. There's something deeply human about that sound, a reminder that even stillness has texture. You think of the man again, yourself, but also not you. He wanders through his thoughts like someone walking through a museum after closing time. The exhibits are quiet now. Memories under glass, regrets framed with polite lighting. He doesn't stop to judge any of them. He just walks. And with every step, the walls move a little farther apart, as if the mind itself is learning to breathe. Outside, the wind has changed direction. You hear it slide between the buildings, a low and endless hum. It reminds you of white noise, that soft, static blanket that hides the details of the world. You start to wonder if the universe hums too, vibrating quietly beneath everything. And maybe your thoughts are just your way of tuning into that signal. You picture your brain as a library, millions of books stacked floor to ceiling, some stories beautiful, others terrifying, a few still being written. You walk through the aisles, finger trailing across dusty spines. You don't need to open any of them tonight. It's enough to know they're there. and that you can leave them closed. A car passes outside. Its headlights stretch across the wall like slow lightning. For a brief second, your shadow appears on the ceiling, still and thoughtful. You realize you exist between the flickers, between light and dark, noise and quiet, action and rest. Maybe that's what being human really is, learning to live in the in-between. Your breathing deepens again. The sheets press softly against your chest. You can feel your heartbeat slow. An ancient rhythm, older than your name, older than every story you've told yourself. You think, maybe peace isn't something I find. Maybe it's something that remembers me. The man begins to dream, but his dreams look exactly like his waking thoughts. He's sitting in a park, sunlight falling through trees like golden water. People pass, faces gentle and distant. No one is rushing. Even time itself seems to walk barefoot here. You notice the grass beneath your hands in that dream. It's soft but real, cool against your palms. You pluck a single blade and watch it spin slowly in the air before the wind carries it away. You think, there goes another thought, harmless and green. The park fades. You're back in the quiet room again. The curtain sways. The light shifts. You whisper, I was somewhere, and now I'm here. And even though nothing changed, you feel the calm that comes from realizing you don't need to chase the moment. It always returns on its own. You start to hear your inner voice again, but it's slower now, gentler. It says simple things. You're safe. You're okay. You've done enough for today. You believe it. Not because you decided to, but because it sounds true when spoken softly. You remember a friend once told you that the mind is like an old radio. Sometimes it just needs to be retuned. You smile. You imagine yourself turning the knob slowly, the static fading, until the signal comes in clear. And what you hear isn't words. It's something like stillness with a heartbeat. You drift to a small memory, a coffee shop, a rainy day. You were sitting by the window, watching drops race each other down the glass. You didn't have anywhere to be. You didn't even notice how quiet your thoughts were. That's the kind of peace that sneaks up on you. The kind you don't plan, but stumble into. The man begins to understand that peace doesn't always arrive as silence. Sometimes it arrives as laughter, as rain, as the sound of your own slow breathing. He realizes the mind is not a storm to calm, but a sky to observe. You think about how funny it is that we spend so much time trying to control the mind, when it's the very thing that made us capable of wondering at all. Maybe thinking is just another form of dreaming, one we experience while awake. And maybe sleep is simply thinking with the sound turned down. You turn on your side. The pillow reshapes itself beneath your head, like a cloud adjusting to the wind. Your arm feels heavy, but comfortably so. Your breathing slows again, each inhale deeper than the last. If peace had a sound, it would probably be this, a person remembering how to rest. You think of the man walking again, this time through a field at dusk. The air is warm, and every sound, the hum of insects, the creak of grass, feels like part of the same gentle song. He walks without direction, but every step feels right. He passes a tree with low branches. He reaches up and touches one. The bark, rough, grounding, real, He feels small and infinite at the same time. He realizes maybe thoughts are the branches, and awareness is the wind that moves through them. The tree doesn't fight the wind. It sways. The scene fades again. You're back in the room. The fan hums. Your breath joins it, a duet of gentle sound. You realize you've stopped checking the time. That's a good sign. Time only exists when you're waiting for something. Tonight, you're not waiting. You're being. You imagine your thoughts as fireflies, some bright, some dim, all flickering in and out of existence. You don't chase them anymore. You just watch the glow. You realize every thought, even the heavy ones, was once light, trying to find a shape. The man sits by a lake now. The surface is still perfectly smooth, so calm that the moon's reflection looks almost real enough to touch. He picks up a small stone and drops it in. Circles spread outward, overlapping and fading into the night. And just like that, he learns. You can't stop ripples, but you can watch them fade. You feel your own ripples now, the slow waves of thought moving gently across your mind. You let them travel. You don't interfere. You think, even this movement is peaceful. The world outside continues. A clock ticks faintly somewhere. Someone, miles away, is also trying to stop thinking. You hope they find this same quiet. It's strange how connected we all are in our restlessness. And yet, how peaceful that shared search can be. The man looks at his reflection in the water. He doesn't see worry anymore, just curiosity, and a gentle understanding that thought itself is a sign of life. He whispers to himself, I don't need to stop thinking. I just need to think gently. You turn on your back again. The mattress feels softer now, or maybe you've become lighter. You listen to your heartbeat. You imagine it syncing with the rhythm of the night, with the wind, the distant cars, the quiet hum of life. Everything beating together. Everything saying the same thing. It's okay. You smile again, and it feels effortless this time. Your face softens, your shoulders release. You realize how rare it is to be here, alive, aware, and yet peaceful. You let that awareness sink in like warm tea, slow, comforting, grounding. The man stands up from the lake's edge. He feels the cool night air wrap around him like a blanket. He begins to walk home. He knows the thoughts will return. They always do. But tonight, he isn't afraid of them. He knows now. They're just passing guests in a house that's always his. You turn once more, nestling deeper into your pillow. Your mind hums softly, content in its own quiet motion. You whisper, let the thoughts come, and let them go. And for the first time in a long time, that feels easy. You notice how the room feels like a harbor now. You are a small, steady boat, tied to something kind and invisible. The water moves under you, thoughts passing, but you remain gently moored. You imagine a quiet librarian in your mind, closing books one by one, whispering, that's enough for tonight. The lights dim between the shelves, and dust becomes glitter in the narrow beams. The man walks a soft-lit street in his memory. Warm windows glow. Kettles sing behind curtains. You sense the safety of ordinary lives continuing, like a lullaby you don't need to remember the words to. You breathe in for 4, out for 6. On the exhale, your shoulders loosen, like knots that found their own ends. Your jaw softens, your tongue rests, and your thoughts step back a respectful pace. You picture your mind as a snow globe. Someone shook it earlier. Meetings, headlines, plans. Now the flakes are settling, layering the little town inside with quiet. A gentle milestone. You tell yourself, I don't need to fix anything. The words feel like a blanket tucked at the edges, neat, trustworthy, warm. The man sits on a stairwell between floors. Not up, not down, simply resting. You feel how healing the in-between can be, where no decision is demanded, and the air smells faintly of wood and time. Your breath becomes an oar, pulling you slowly across a lake of dark velvet. Each stroke is an exhale. Each inhale is the boat's small, patient rise. You think of kindness like a nightlight inside the mind. Not bright, not blinding, just enough to see the path. You follow it without hurry, barefoot on a warm floor of thought. The curtain lifts, falls, a tide against glass. You listen to that small ocean and let its rhythm decide your own. It chooses slowness. You agree. The man wanders into a dream market at dusk. Stalls of memory, aisles of feelings. He buys nothing. He merely samples the hush and leaves the coins in his pocket. A soft rain begins. Somewhere in imagination, somewhere just beyond the window. Each drop is a thought landing without a splash, absorbed by the soil of the night. You place a gentle sign at the door of your mind. Open tomorrow. Inside, lights click off in a pleasant sequence, like a neighborhood settling to sleep. The mattress remembers your shape. It holds you the way a story holds its main character, protectively, without hurry, already knowing the ending is peace. You sense old worries growing transparent, as if backlit by moonlight. Edges soften, intentions fade, leaving only the outline of lessons you've already learned. The man lingers at a bridge over quiet water. He drops a single leaf, watches it find the current without effort. You whisper, like that. Your hands are warm now. Your feet feel far away. The body is dimming its rooms from the ground floor up. You give it permission to continue, and it does. You revisit a hallway from childhood, nightlight glowing like a small moon near the floor. You remember the sound of a distant dishwasher, a domestic galaxy spinning you to sleep. The man notices a key in his pocket. It doesn't open anything in the world, only a soft door in the mind labeled rest. He turns it. The hinges do not creak. You picture thoughts as paper boats. You set each one on a shallow stream, watching them drift beneath twig arches, vanishing kindly around the bend. A clock somewhere ticks with pastoral patience. Time, for once, isn't measuring you. It's keeping watch, like a lantern at the end of a pier. You sense a vast room behind the mind, quiet, high-ceilinged, candlelit. When you stand in that room, Even your name speaks in a whisper. The man sits on a bench beneath a tree that remembers him. Leaves murmur like old friends telling softer versions of your story. You listen until the story becomes the breeze. The breath in, a tide arriving. Breath out, a tide receding. You float in the predictable miracle of it, uncharted but safe. You lay a hand on your chest, feel the slow drum that has never demanded applause. It's enough, it says. It always was. The room has become a cocoon. Threads of quiet wrap you, woven from moonlight, breath, and the patience you practiced tonight. You do not try to sleep. Sleep is already weaving. The man who tried to stop thinking no longer argues with rivers. He lets them pass, and in their passing he hears a truth that needs no words. You're carried. You're home. You wake within the dream. The room glows a muted silver, as if the moon decided to rest indoors for a while. The air feels different now, thicker, slower, kind, like the world itself is whispering lullabies through the walls. You realize you're not exactly awake, not exactly asleep either. You exist in the space between, where thoughts stretch into shapes and dissolve before they finish forming. Here, even time breathes slower. The man sits beside a window overlooking the night. The city is still, every light a tiny heartbeat. He watches a single moth orbit a street lamp, fascinated by its endless faith in light. He wonders. Maybe he too has spent his life circling ideas of peace, instead of simply landing inside it. You turn gently. Your pillow sighs under the shift. The sheets cling softly to your arms, their coolness grounding you to the moment. The ceiling above looks infinite, a quiet universe of plaster and possibility. Your thoughts are slower now, but they still hum faintly. You listen, and in the hum, you hear stories. Voices of all your past versions gently checking in. They say, "We made it this far." You smile. The man steps outside. The air greets him like a silk curtain. He feels the night's texture on his skin, the faint electricity that hums through silence. He walks barefoot down a quiet street, the pavement cool and familiar. Each step feels like punctuation. Not an ending, just a pause. You imagine walking beside him, two figures drifting through the night, not talking, but understanding everything anyway. The houses pass like slow thoughts. A dog barks once, then reconsiders. The sky above seems endless, a mind big enough for everything. You picture the stars as neurons firing in the brain of the universe, each one a tiny idea, a memory, a spark of wonder. And you, a single thought within it, momentary yet infinite. The man pauses near a small river. It speaks in ripples, each sound folding into the next like soft pages. He kneels, cups the water in his hands, and watches it spill through his fingers. He doesn't try to keep it. He only feels it pass. You breathe in again. The rhythm feels ancient, as though you've joined the same pattern the river knows. You exhale, and your chest loosens even more. Your body is not fighting gravity anymore. It's joining it, like two old friends walking home together. The night air has its own scent: damp stone, faint grass, the memory of rain. You imagine each inhale polishing your thoughts until they shine faintly and drift away. The man sits beneath a street lamp. The light pools around him like warm milk. He closes his eyes. He doesn't chase stillness anymore. He lets it sit beside him, uninvited, and yet completely welcome. You recall a time when you laughed so hard that your thoughts disappeared entirely. Pure sound, pure breath, pure being. You realize peace might be that simple: the absence of effort. The man imagines opening a door in his mind and seeing nothing on the other side. Not darkness, not light, just open space. He steps through. For a moment, he feels weightless. Then he realizes, this is what trust feels like. You turn onto your other side. The sheets adjust, like waves shifting to cradle a passing boat. Your heartbeat echoes faintly in the pillow, a tiny metronome guiding you toward stillness. You imagine floating again, but this time not on water, in light. The air is thick with gold dust, and you are suspended within it. Every movement sends small galaxies swirling around you. You whisper, "This is enough." The man walks through the dream city once more. Windows glow softly. No one looks at him, but everyone seems to know he's there. There's comfort in anonymity, the peace of not having to perform, of being one gentle heartbeat in a larger body. You think of the word allowing. It feels warm in the mouth, soft at the edges. You repeat it once, and your breath carries it away like incense smoke. Allowing. That's what tonight is. The man reaches a hill. From the top, he can see the sleeping town below. Tiny lights breathing in their own rhythm. He sits, lets his thoughts walk away one by one. They vanish into the grass, leaving only the sound of crickets and wind. You imagine sitting there beside him, both of you quiet, watching nothing in particular. You feel your mind align with the rhythm of the night. Slow, patient, endless. You think, this is what surrender feels like. The air grows cooler. He pulls his jacket closer, but not out of discomfort, more like a gesture of tenderness toward himself. You mirror him beneath your blanket, drawing it up, and something in your body whispers, safe. He lies back on the grass. The earth supports him effortlessly. The stars above seem closer now, like thoughts that finally made sense. He closes his eyes. The world doesn't disappear. It just softens. You sense that softness too. Your body feels porous, as though the night air is moving gently through you. There's no barrier between you and quiet anymore. You are made of the same thing. A dream begins to take shape. Vague, friendly, unhurried. It feels like stepping into warm water. You recognize faces that don't exist, walk through places that never were, and somehow everything makes perfect sense. The man begins to fade into that same dream. He no longer wonders what it means. He just smiles, and the dream accepts him like a tide, pulling him home. You breathe in rhythm with him, sharing the same invisible current. You're almost asleep now. The world has dimmed to a single heartbeat. You feel the distance between thoughts stretching further apart, like stars drifting quietly through deep space. Nothing to fix, nothing to do, only being. And in that last flicker of awareness, you and the man merge. No story left, no separation. Only the soft, timeless knowing that peace was never missing. It was always right here, beneath the noise, waiting for your silence to remember it. The dream has become a landscape. Wide fields of blue shadow stretch endlessly, and the air glows like the inside of a seashell. You walk slowly, barefoot, feeling the soft hum of the earth beneath you. There's no beginning or end here, only movement, as natural as breath. You notice shapes forming in the mist, fragments of thoughts you once had. A childhood home, a friend you haven't spoken to in years, a place that might not even exist. They drift by like clouds, and for once, you don't reach for them. You just watch them go. The man, you, walks through the mist and finds a small wooden bridge. It's old but steady, each plank singing softly beneath your steps. On the other side, the fog glows faintly gold, as if morning might be hiding there. You don't rush. You walk with the patience of someone who finally trusts time. A soft wind moves through the trees. It carries whispers, not words, but feelings. Kindness, relief, forgiveness. You realize the wind has been speaking all along. You just had to become quiet enough to hear it. You cross the bridge and find a small clearing. There's a bench there, old and moss-covered, like it's been waiting just for you. You sit. You rest your hands in your lap. The air tastes clean, like rain that hasn't fallen yet. A soft voice, maybe your own, maybe the world's, says, "You made it." You don't answer. You don't need to. Your silence is the reply. The man who tried to stop thinking has finally learned the art of simply being. You close your eyes and feel light beneath your eyelids. It pulses faintly with each heartbeat, like the rhythm of an old song returning home. The dream begins to dissolve around you, not vanishing, just blending into the same quiet that lives beneath waking life. You are weightless now, the body forgotten, the mind transparent. Thoughts still appear, but they pass through you like birds through open air. You are the sky, and they are free to come and go. In the far distance, you see a horizon forming. The pale edge of dawn, soft, peach-colored light, spreading like a secret. You smile in your sleep. Even morning is gentle here. The man sits on the bench, eyes closed, fingers tracing small circles on his knee. He thinks of everything and nothing at once. And then he lets even that go. You too are letting go. Each breath floats further apart. Each heartbeat sounds like an echo inside a long hallway. You are drifting into the deep place, the one beyond dreams, where time folds quietly around rest. You whisper inside yourself, "It's enough." And that single phrase ripples outward, through every layer of your being. It softens muscle, thought, memory. It reaches the parts of you that never learned to rest and tucks them in. The night outside fades toward silver. A bird sings once, unsure if it's morning yet. You don't wake. You just drift deeper into that sound, as if your dreams are learning to breathe with the dawn. Somewhere in the quiet, you sense the presence of all who've ever tried to stop thinking. Millions of minds turning, resting, releasing. And in that vast, shared hush, you feel connected, a single note in the great song of stillness. You are no longer narrating, no longer observing. You've crossed the final bridge. There is only warmth, soft movement, and a steady pulse of peace. If awareness is a candle, its flame has dimmed to a safe, sleepy glow. The man, now part of the dream, lies back on the grass once more. He can't tell if the stars are above or within him. It doesn't matter. Both feel infinite. He finally understands. To stop thinking is not to silence the mind, but to listen so deeply that words are no longer needed. You're still floating, but the motion is imperceptible. Your breath and the night are indistinguishable. Even your thoughts now sound like lullabies. Every inhale begins with peace. Every exhale ends with surrender. You sense the faint weight of dreams beginning, gentle images forming behind closed eyes. A candle in an empty room, a train that runs through clouds, a voice saying, "Rest now." You do. The world outside begins to brighten, but you're far away, deep beneath the surface of waking. Your body knows this rhythm. It's ancient, reliable, a quiet rotation between light and rest. The man who tried to stop thinking has vanished into the horizon. What remains is only breath, the simplest proof of being alive. And maybe that's all thinking ever wanted to become. Breath. You hear the faint echo of your own name, spoken not as a label, but as a blessing. It fades into the background like waves retreating from shore. Your mind now resembles the sea before sunrise. Flat, endless, shimmering. No wind, no effort, only potential. And in that stillness, you realize the story is ending, but the peace continues. You think, or dream, one last gentle thought. Maybe I never needed to stop thinking at all. Maybe I just needed to listen kindly. The idea folds itself into quiet, like a letter sealed in light. The music of your breath slows to a whisper. If someone were watching, they'd say you looked peaceful. But it's deeper than that. You're not merely calm. You are part of calm itself. And now, in this soft final stretch of night, let everything go. The worries, the names, the stories, the idea of being someone who must do or become. There is only this warm, steady now. If you can still hear this, let my voice fade with your breathing. Let each word become slower, less distinct, until even language gives up and sleeps. You are safe. You are loved. You are home. And as the last thought drifts away, you rest. Not because the mind stopped thinking, but because it finally remembered that peace was its natural state all along. Good night. Sleep deeply, and may your thoughts find gentle places to rest.